What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. We are back once again with another episode of The Last Word, and we're back once again with our weekly football weekend picks. As usual, we got 4 NFL games, 1 college game. We'll start with that college game. Big Pac-12 matchup. You got Washington and Oregon State. Of course, Washington still trying to head towards the college football playoff. They're undefeated right now. Probably will be in the Pac-12 championship game, and Oregon State hoping to spoil them, but we don't think that will happen. We are both picking Washington in this one. Now, we haven't talked too much about them since the Oregon game, which they obviously came out with that late victory, but outside of that Utah game, the USC game, we haven't really talked too much about them. The last game was against Utah. They were able to eat that one out. USC was close, but not too close. But Stanford and the Arizona State victories were, good wins, but not insanely impressive for Washington. They've been able to get some close wins out there. And it's not as if Stanford and Arizona State are really good right now in football. So even though that doesn't sound too great for Washington, we are still sticking with them. We don't think Oregon State would be able to beat them. DJ obviously coming from Clemson, he's played a lot better, but I still think Washington's right now the better team. They should come out with the dub.
Yeah, I've been big on Washington all season. We haven't covered them since that Oregon game, and they've had some pretty narrow wins since then, so they've been a little less trustful, but Michael Penix Jr. has still been playing some pretty solid football. Their running game has been incredible throughout the season. And yeah, I think Oregon State is not a bad team. They had a really unfortunate loss in the early part of the season, and their second loss to Arizona was a brutal one. 27-24 is not a good one. They've come out since then. They beat Stanford 62-17, which is much more impressive than Washington's 42-33 victory. They both beat Stanford nonetheless. They would also beat Colorado, UCLA, California. That's some good wins under their belt. But I think that Washington is just a bit more of a trustable team on all parts of the game. DJ has been playing much better than he played when he was at Clemson. But I think there's a lot going on that unit to kind of make him successful. And I think if it gets into a close game, Washington at the very least has proved they can survive close games a little better than Oregon State can. And from there, we're going to jump into the NFL, and we have yet another game where Terrence and I will both pick Miami. This one should hopefully go better than every other time that we've done that, as Miami faces off against the Raiders. A bit of a funny situation here where if Miami wins, they will have beaten a losing team. If they lose, they will have lost to a winning team. So the Raiders are 5-5. So media narratives are going to be fun in this one. Raiders have looked solid after the coaching change. They've been pretty good. They beat a tough Jets defense this past week. They've been playing better on all facets of the game. I think the Raiders are starting to come together and make a bit of a splash here, but I do think the Dolphins, coming off a bye week, had some tough losses this year. Number 1 offense in the NFL. The defense hasn't been bad either. They had a rough loss to the Chiefs, kind of spiraled out of the way with a fumble. I think that they're going to come out here and they're going to play probably more strong football than Vegas, and it could be a close game with the way that Vegas has been playing these past few weeks. But I think the Dolphins will come out and have a high flying game. One of these games where you kind of get your mojo back, maybe similar to how the Niners when the Jaguars went, but I don't think it's going to be like a 35-3 type of game.
Nah, I mean, I wouldn't call this one even a trap because it's not like Miami's that far ahead of Vegas in the standings when you look at it. But I think it's also just because, we've seen how well the Raiders have played all week. Look at who they've played the past 2 weeks, especially that Giants game. But I think people understand, okay, Vegas, you can't really underestimate them now. You've got Antonio Pierce leading the way. Got Josh McDaniels out of there. Still, Miami should not have too much of an issue beating these guys. I think the main thing is having their offense actually come out and not have a slow start to begin with. I think if they're able to just get out there, score some points early, they should be able to put this one to bed. I don't think it'd be a blowout, but I think I would probably go 2 touchdowns for Miami in this one. Now, the next game, say Thursday night game, that'll be tonight. We are actually splitting on this one, Ravens and Bengals. I'm actually going to pick the Bengals in this one. These teams did play earlier this year, and that was a Ravens victory. With that being said, it was just 27-24, and that was still, early in the season, Joe Burrow with the injury, and the Bengals hadn't really found their stride yet. Both teams are coming off of tough losses this past week. The Ravens, of course, losing to the Browns, and then Bengals losing to the Texans. I still say the Ravens are the better team right now, obviously, but I think this is the kind of game where, it's a divisional game. These teams play each other hard every single time. And do I expect Lamar Jackson to throw interceptions like he did in the last game, throw a pick six? No, but I do think that the Bengals offense still catching their stride. They'll be able to, I wouldn't even say bounce back because they put up a good performance last week in the loss, but I do think that they'll be able to catch them in this one. Again, the last time they played wasn't that much of a difference. And I think the Bengals this time are better than they were the first time, of course. So, might be wrong. Ravens might just straight up beat them. But I'll make the underdog pick here. I'll go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more traditional on this one. I'm going to pick the Ravens. I like Lamar Jackson this season. I think he will be looking for a bounce-back performance. I don't think the Bengals are in need of bouncing back. They had a kind of a soul-crushing loss in the way they lost. But the Ravens threw their game away last week. I think that they are going to look for a bounce back against another divisional opponent. And now their first matchup with the Bengals, they win by a field goal. That is, like Ashley said, peak injured Joe Burrow, Bengals not getting their season together. Now we're in a different area. Bengals have been a much better team. Had a huge win streak before it stopped with the Texans. I think they're going to put up a big fight, and I can honestly see the score being another 27-24, 30-27, 30-28 kind of game, where we get these two teams coming really close. And if you look at the stats, they're a little, not so great because of the Bengals start the season. They're really low on offense, really low on defense. They're last in rushing offense. And I think some of that, the rushing offense is still not really there. But I think a lot of that is from just their weird start to the season. Their passing offense is getting better and better. Joe Burrow and T. Higgins have had a good connection this season. So I think that this is going to be a fight. It's hard to pick an AFC North game and say that it won't be a fight. I just think that the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, have maybe a little more fire under him. Wanted to kind of undo what he did last week, and I think they're going to come out with a narrow victory and prove to stay comfortably at the top of their division. And now we're going to stay in the AFC North, and we're actually going to stay split. Now, we have not had many splits this season. We get two back-to-back this week. This one is a weird one for me. We have the 6-3 Steelers and the 6-3 Browns. Steelers, on the same week, a previous game happened actually, where the Ravens and Bengals met for the first time. Steelers and Browns met for the first time. Steelers came out with another narrow victory, 26-22, over Deshaun Watson's Browns at the time. Now, Steelers are going to be looking at, I believe, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And this is a weird one to pick, because I don't want to trust the Steelers offense ever. But it was actually the Steelers defense through and through that carried them to a victory in that last game. They were able to catch the Browns slipping. And I don't know. I think that the Browns have a good shot to win this game. Me personally, I feel like with DTR at quarterback, if it gets into a close game, he's more likely to make a mistake, and the Steelers defense to capitalize and bail out this offense again. Now, the Browns defense is much better than the Steelers defense, and if things get out of hand too quickly for the Steelers, my pick's going to be dead in the water. But I think that the Steelers have a decent chance here to try to make the rookie make some mistakes and just hold off for another narrow victory, another Mike Tomlin style. We got out of here with the 30th ranked offense, but we're going to improve to 7-3. I don't know. That also might be just the craziest thing, looking at the trajectories of these two teams this season. One of them is coming out of here 7-3 unless they tie. So, I don't know. I'm going to say it's going to be the Steelers. I won't be shocked if that one doesn't hold up. This one is a tough one to pick. Two really, really great defenses. Two offenses that I don't trust that much.
Yeah, obviously, the first time, this was the game that the Browns lost Nick Chubb in. And Sean was playing in that game. He's obviously not going to be playing in this one now. And we pretty much heard all the talk all week. Deshaun Watson's best half of football in like 3 years was that second half where apparently he was injured with that shoulder. But with that being said, it's not like, I don't want to say they don't need amazing quarterback play, because that would be kind of ridiculous to say. But they don't need amazing quarterback play to be able to stay in this game. I think really the best way to say it is they need to play like the Steelers. Obviously, you don't want to have to play like that. Hoping to make your defense make plays, because really for the Steelers, it's more just getting like interceptions and fumbles, getting script stacks and stuff like that. The Browns overall on defense are just way better. So, yeah, I would say, it's going to be DTR playing. It's not going to be PJ. That one DTR game wasn't very impressive, but maybe he'll look more like he did preseason. Maybe with more preparation as opposed to being thrown in at the last second. So that's really what I'm banking on in this one, is just defense being a lot better for the Browns against the Steelers. Again, I see the Steelers winning if they're able to get turnovers, force the rookie to make some mistakes, like you said. But I think as long as he doesn't do anything really stupid, just plays within the game plan that they have set for him, I think the Browns defense should be able to carry him to a win. And then the last game we're going to talk about, of course, Super Bowl rematch on Monday Night Football. Really good game. Looking at it on paper, of course. Chiefs and Eagles, 8-1 versus 7-2. Both teams had a little bit of a break this past weekend after playing on Monday Night Football. We are both going to go with the Eagles. I was tempted to pick the Chiefs because, like I say, I really don't like picking against Mahomes and the Chiefs. But right now, I think Eagles would be, outside of the Dolphins before that game happened. The Eagles are the one team I would pick ahead of the Chiefs. They've just been consistently better. And, the only game they lost was that Jets game. And obviously Jalen Hurts was not good, to say the least, in that one. I don't see that happening in this one. And the Chiefs, their defense has been considerably better. That was what really carried them to that victory in Miami, or against Miami, I should say, in Germany. But I don't think they'll be able to do the same thing here. Should be, I say, decently high scoring, 30-27, but got the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I am not the biggest fan of picking against the Chiefs either. It hasn't gone well so far this season, except for, I actually don't remember if I picked the Lions in week 1 or not. It's been an interesting season for the Chiefs. They obviously only have 2 losses. Haven't been playing the most beautiful football, but they've been playing really good defense. I think the Eagles, though, have just been better. Maybe not actually on defense this year, but their offense is being their defense has been at least probably a little more consistent. They're just a really well-oiled team. They do everything pretty solidly. Jalen Hurts has kind of gotten the turnover woes a bit past him. And honestly, that first loss could have been beneficial for them, as it kind of gets the narrative out of the way of like, they're chasing the undefeated season. Now they just go out there, play football. This is a big one. Super Bowl rematch. Obviously, they narrowly lost to the Chiefs this past year. This one doesn't hold quite as much weight as a Super Bowl game, but I'm sure you're going to be a little fire there. You got the 2 Kelsey brothers coming in here. But I think the Eagles have been pretty good on the run game. Kenneth Gainwell and Andrew Swift have been pretty solid. Jalen Hurts has been good as well. A.J. Brown was on a pretty strong tear for a while. They had like one off game, and I think he's been decent since then. So, yeah, we'll say that the Eagles are going to pull this one out. It's probably going to be a really narrow, really high-scoring game. I would agree. 30-27 feels like a pretty solid thing. These 2 teams, despite their good defenses, are probably going to score. It almost feels inevitable, especially if you get the Chiefs on like the goal line, or not the Chiefs, the Eagles on the goal line. They're going in. Chiefs probably do, just in a different way. But I'm going to take the Eagles on this one to improve to 9-1. Leave the Chiefs at 7-3, which would make things somewhat entertaining for their division if some of their rivals can pick up wins as they've been heating up. But yeah, this one's going to be fun. I'm excited. This is a solid week this week of primetime games with the Ravens game tonight, this game on Monday. I think we have Vikings-Broncos for Sunday night. That's not horrible either. So, thank you to the NFL for a good week of football.